Hey there, I'm Stacy Johnson, and this is Money, the podcast where we talk about all things money. How to get it, how to keep it, how to grow it, and what it's all going to mean to you and your life. Today we're going to talk about the psychology behind money. Can money buy happiness? And if it can't, why do we spend so much of our lives in pursuit of it? How do money and love really fit together? I'm going to play you an interview I did a few years ago. It's really fascinating. It was with a psychologist whose name, appropriately enough, is Dr. Gene Cash. Check it out. Dr. Cash, I've been dying to ask you questions about money and psychology. And the very first one I need to ask you is, why is it that money's not happiness? I know it's not. I've got enough. But for some reason, when I see somebody with more, I want it. Mm-hmm. Why do I want to have $100 million? Why does Donald Trump want to have another $1 billion? Why is everyone so focused on money?
Why are they so focused on money when it's very clear from the research that except up to a certain amount, like $75,000 income a year, there's not a lot of return in terms of happiness with incremental amounts of money. But I think it's because money represents power. In fact, some people have said that money is society's report card.
Yeah,
and people, therefore, are looking to make more and more and more because they want to be the best. They want to believe they're the best. They want to exercise power, and it's never enough. That, of course, is not the same as happiness.
But that's the pursuit of it. Now, I understand, like you said, up to 75 grand, money is kind of happiness because I need a roof over my head or else I'm going to be unhappy. I get that.
Sure.
But why are we doing something? We all know money's not happiness. And yet we all act as if it is in our actions, in our envy. Mm-hmm. How do we stop doing this? Is this just being a human being? Should we stop doing this? And if so, how?
If you mean, should we stop pursuing money, to a certain degree, the pursuit of money is the basis of our capitalistic economy, of our economic system. And so, no, I don't think that we should stop pursuing money. We should stop being obsessed with money. We should stop equating money with love. We should stop using money as an indication of our self-worth. If we could accomplish those things, then money would be put in perspective, and the accumulation of money would be put into perspective, and we'd be better off as a society.
You talk about money and love, and I've heard you talk about this topic before. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to ask you then, and I couldn't. Money is not love. I get it.
Right.
But we use money to express love in this society, and probably in most. Mm-hmm. I'm showing you that I like you by giving you a Mercedes or a big diamond ring or whatever. Mm-hmm. How else are you going to do it? I don't understand. Because if you have money and you don't give expensive gifts, isn't that going to be a sign that you're not loved?
Not necessarily. I learned very early on in my marriage that my wife would far rather have me do the dishes than to give her expensive gifts.
But wouldn't she rather have you do the dishes while she looks at her new diamond ring?
Well, that's a good point. People do like gifts, but people don't necessarily have to equate those gifts or the value of those gifts, how much they cost, with how much they're loved. In fact, loving is not really what you buy. Loving is what you do, how you relate to the other person. How you demonstrate a consistent quality of caring toward that person. And poor people can do that.
Okay, but let's look at it this way. Isn't one of the reasons that women might be appealed, and I'm not suggesting women are shallow, but might be attracted to men with lots of money is because they have an instinct to be taken care of. We all do, I guess, right? And so obviously the better provider can win out, just like a man with more intelligence. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So doesn't this extend into the whole gift thing, though? You're showing me that you can provide by giving me an expensive gift. Mm-hmm. So isn't this almost instinctive?
Well, there probably is an instinctiveness about the competition among men for money and power, and therefore credibility with women. But Many people have been able to move beyond that in their lives. You know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
And money, up to a certain amount, provides some of the things that we need in order to survive. But money doesn't provide self-actualization. Money doesn't provide a sense of confidence, self-confidence.
And in fact, it can actually do the opposite.
Sometimes it can.
What I mean is using your entire life in pursuit of it.
Sure.
And then you get to the end and you go, gee, like I always say, when you're on your deathbed, you're not going to think about the things you had. You're going to think about the people you knew or the times you had, not the things. And yet we pretend and we act as if things are all we care about by pursuing money.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm suggesting is that everyone should stop pursuing money except for me, which would mean less competition. Okay, now let's switch gears because another super important question.
Well, actually, let me make one more comment about this issue of equating money with love. I'm convinced that equating money with love reflects a deficit in the person who's giving the more and more expensive gifts. A deficit in the sense of not feeling that they have been loved and not feeling themselves lovable.
Yes.
Because the extent to which we can show another person effectively that we love that other person is limited by how effectively we feel that we are lovable and we love ourselves.
Very interesting, and I think very true. Because isn't this why, in fact, just last week we published a story, 85% of Ferraris are bought by men.
Mm-hmm.
And this may be a little far afield from what you're talking about, but basically we're going, look at me. and also even the collection of power. I must be okay if I'm super rich. Because look at all the people around me.
Mm-hmm.
They certainly think I'm okay. They think I'm cool. They want to be my friend.
Right.
And this is all, or can be, tied back to an insecurity about yourself. I don't love myself, therefore I'm going to make it look like it. I'm going to show that I'm lovable by making everybody love me.
Right.
And money's involved in that.
Very often it is. Money buys all the external trappings of power and confidence and so forth. And often it's used as a compensatory device.
Right.
It makes up for our own confidence in and belief in ourselves.
You know, this isn't true for you and I. We both have lots of money and people love us.
Oh, of course.
Okay. Now we can move on.
Okay.
Why are people so stupid? I really want to know this. And here's the context. I've been doing consumer news for 30 years. And I've actually sat across from a university psychology professor 15 years ago and asked the same question.
Mm-hmm.
We know that you're not going to lose 5 pounds overnight by putting on some pants or eating a pill, or you're not going to get rich by watching an infomercial, and you can't, why do we fall for this stuff? We're stupid. Why are we doing it?
Well, I don't know that we're stupid. I think that there's a phenomenon in psychology that applies across the board to populations. It doesn't apply to everyone, but it applies to very consistently to about 30% of the people. Different things will trigger different 30% of people, but we call that the placebo phenomenon. And you can see that in medicine very often. You can see it in psychology very often. You can see it in the marketing of various supplements and things that are supposed to make you potent and so forth. There are going to be about 30% of people who respond to sugar pills if you tell them that it will cure their fill in the blank, whatever it is, cure their...
Well, you're suggesting people respond to these things.
Right.
But I'm suggesting, why aren't they going, well, this doesn't work. The last time I did this, I got ripped off.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously.
Oh, some people do. 70% of people do.
So, but why do these things even exist? I mean, in other words, how can there be an infomercial promising you something for nothing when you know intuitively it can't be true? Unless, I mean, like I said, we're not morons. We know that if somebody has a system to make 100% in the stock market, they're not going to share it with us. They're going to make 100% in the stock market. We know this, and yet we plunk down our money for this newsletter.
Well, you and I are not morons.
No, we don't. Okay,
but the fact is that I don't want to use that term applied to anyone. But there are some people who are more gullible than others, and if you want to make a lot of money, then it might be a good idea for you to make up some capsules that you say are going to cure erectile
But why was anyone
dysfunction.
going to buy them?
Oh, they'll buy them because you advertise them. And there are a certain number of people who believe that what they read, what they see on TV, what they hear on the radio must be true.
But wouldn't you think that someone over the age of 8 would have learned that that's not true?
Well, someone over the developmental age, the cognitive age of 8, might do that, might think
But there's
that
something
wasn't
in
true.
our heads that make us want to believe that what that guy is saying is true.
Sure.
And especially when he puts up an actor that says, oh, I did this, and it worked. We don't even, and we know it's an actor, we should anyway.
Right.
And yet now we've reinforced that belief. Oh, and then they go, we'll give you your money back. And they, we know this stuff doesn't work. And yet we continue to fall for it. And you can even feel it sometimes being tugged, even a guy like you or maybe me that wouldn't do this, you can still feel the tug of it. And it's almost like there's something inherent in you that wants there to be a simple solution to a complex problem.
Well, most people want a simple solution to a complex problem. In fact, there is a simple solution to every complex problem that doesn't work.
And another thing, books. The 7 Steps to Financial Freedom.
Right.
We know that these things, or there's any number of pop psychology books. I'm okay, you're okay.
Sure.
And Bill, before I leave you today, I want to ask you one other thing that's really important to me. So I'm going to shift gears yet again. I have also heard you say that what you do for a living is change behavior. Why is behavior so hard to change? Because when I've heard you say that, I've thought, and I don't doubt that behavior is changeable, but you say it's hard. I say it's super hard. I wrote a book called Life or Debt, 15, 20 years ago. It's about getting out of debt. So I began handing it out to my friends. I have extra copies. And I hand it to you who doesn't need it at all. You call me 2 hours later and go, that was a great book. I hand it to somebody who's desperately in need of it. A year goes by. Did you ever read that book? Oh, no, I've been meaning to, though. It's sitting right by my bed. You're literally preaching to the choir when you're trying to help people all the time, when I'm giving a speech. The room is full of people whose heads are bobbing because they're there because they want reinforcement that what they already believe is correct. The people who need to be in the room aren't there. How do you change people's behavior? It's really hard.
It is hard. And I'm fond of that joke about how many psychologists does it take to change a light bulb. It only takes one, but the light bulb really has to want to change. People change their behavior. And by the way, the reason that it's so difficult for people to change behavior is because behavior is a combination of our genetic endowment and our experiences throughout life. We develop strategies for dealing with life. Some of them may be good strategies. Some of them may be not so good strategies, kind of neutral. Some of them may be rather destructive strategies, but they're deeply ingrained because they've been reinforced in some way over many, many years. For me, a lot of years. And for many of the people whose behavior we try to change as adults, many years. So it's not easy to get a person who has a deeply ingrained pattern of behavior, we often call them habits, to change those habits. But it is possible to do. They have to be ready, and there are stages of readiness. There are theories about how to move people through the stages of readiness to make change, whether that change be a change in diet, whether that change be a change in
it's so hard. It's almost okay. And I'm not talking about now. You're sitting down across from somebody one-on-one, or a psychologist. Is this what they're doing? And you're getting to know someone very intimately and personally, and helping them, seeing the triggers that may help them change their behavior.
Right.
I'm writing articles. Here's what you might do to get a better job, or to make more money, or to pay off debt. And here's some motivational techniques that you might employ.
Right.
And I just wonder if it's falling on deaf ears, or if the people who don't need that are reading it, and the people who do never will. And can you really reach out in that context, mass market, and change people's behavior?
Well, I think you can, and some people. The pen is, in fact, mightier than the sword. Not necessarily, however, mightier than the word and interpersonal relationships. And we know as psychologists that a substantial part, probably at least half of behavior change, comes about as a result of the nature of the relationship in a psychotherapeutic setting, or the nature of a relationship in a home setting, for example.
Or even if you see me on TV and you trust me, then that's a relationship too.
It is. It's
no, it's a really strong relationship.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Oh, okay.
It's not superficial.
That's good.
It's really important. I'm sorry.
For some people, it is very strong. For many people, the relationship that one has with somebody on TV is rather superficial. If it's too strong, then you get the John Hinckleys of the world.
Right. Okay, so now, as we close today, I want you to, I was going to say there's someone out there. Everyone out there wants to change something about themselves.
Right.
They want to make more money. They want to get more education. They want to lose weight. They want to quit smoking, blah, 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 on and on. I think I want all of those things, actually. Get simple advice that might work, even though they don't have a relationship with you and probably don't care what you say?
Well, that's a good point. I probably don't. And so my advice may not work effectively for you, but I would suggest that you take several steps. The first step might very well be getting a self-help book on the thing that you wish to change. That self-help book may work for a certain percentage of people. It probably will work for a certain percentage of people. If that doesn't work for you, then consider making a pact with a friend and doing this process, making this behavior change together. That certainly works for me. I jog every morning, and the reason I do some mornings is because I jog with my wife. And the reason she does some mornings is because she jogs with me. If that doesn't work, then consider getting help from a professional.
Oh, finally, the shameless plug.
I'm a psychologist.
Would you go? I mean, like, how quickly would you go to? I guess how much pain depends on how much pain you're in and how much you want to change.
Yeah. In fact, most of the people who come voluntarily to a psychologist, there are some who are kind of forced. We usually call them adolescents or court-ordered. But the ones who come voluntarily to a psychologist almost always come asking in one way or another, ease my pain. Help me to ease my pain. And that is a powerful motivator for many people, but you have to understand that they tolerated a lot of pain before they got there in most cases. People don't always come to professionals. So in conclusion, easily.
Your advice would be first to go to moneytalksnews.com and read my stuff and watch my videos.
Oh, absolutely. Read your stuff.
In the rare events where that doesn't cure all problems, then seek professional help.
Well, I said there's an intermediate step too, and that is see if you can find someone who's like-minded and wanting to change and work with them. You're much more likely to do your daily workout if there's somebody encouraging you and doing it with you. You're much more likely to do weight control or healthier eating if somebody is encouraging you and doing it with you.
Sense.
And if that doesn't work, then perhaps you need some professional
help. Or bring
help.
the friend to moneytalksnews.com too.
Well, that would work, yes.
Yeah. Group reading.
Sure. That almost certainly will work for everybody.
Dr. Cash, you're a hell of a guy. I really appreciate all your help.
It's a pleasure working with you.
I will look forward to talking to you next time.
Likewise.
Okay, guys, that's all I've got for today. You want to know more about today's topic? Visit me online at moneytalksnews.com. You can just do a search for money and learn a ton more. That's moneytalksnews.com. Hey, thanks for spending a little time with me. There's a million podcasts out there. I'm honored you chose mine. And if you like what you heard, do both of us a favor. Subscribe and tell your friends to subscribe. Then, please review me. Takes you 2 seconds, makes my mom super proud. Thanks again, folks. I'm Stacy Johnson, and I'll see you right here next time.